Volume down on that. Boop, 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 boop. Hello, hello. We are live. Live for 14 seconds. Yes, Facebook is live too. There we are. I can see the picture now. Okay, let me see if I can get the signal to hold in Facebook and then I can watch things in there. Da-da-da-da-da-da. I'm in the back room where the Wi-Fi is not that great. Okay. Good evening, good evening, good evening. And David, thank you for being flexible. When
Oh, no
Mercury
problem.
hit my retrograde on Sunday, I had to change everything. I'm like, there's no way. I could not have been here. So this is my friend David Goff, and I just found out tomorrow's his birthday. So no, I will not sing happy birthday to you. you're like getting younger, right?
Hey, all the time. All the
All
time.
the time. Kathy, hey sweetheart, how are you? It's good to see you. Thank you for moderating for me. I appreciate it. I had no idea if anybody would find us tonight. So, this is going to be fun. I'm going to tell a little bit of a story about David,
Uh-oh.
something that you probably don't even know. Back when I lived in Plano, hi Eliza, in the Dallas area, David, your family is in that area, even though you work out of town. And David would come over to my house on the Sunday mornings that he would be driving back south and play gongs before you left. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Or BC before the COVID thing. And that was, you are like the most favorite person I have met to just sit and listen while you play gongs. It was just
Mm.
like, oh, I can just receive gongs. So thank you. It was just one of those memories of, before everything fell apart and I couldn't play for anybody, just to have you come in at the crack of dawn, you're
Yeah.
driving 5 hours south. So thank you. That's something I very much, that's the fond memory of, David playing the big gongs and
Mm.
before you took off in your big truck.
Yeah, I still remember the day we first met and I
Mm-hmm.
got a chance to play the gongs.
Got to play the
That
gongs
was,
that day too.
yeah, that was
Hi.
for me.
David is a really good gong player. Very good gong player. Yeah, I've got some recordings that you're on. I believe
Yeah.
you recorded with me. Okay, Eliza, happy Hawaii. Sharon, hello, hello. I'm looking at. What do you mean you're at the hospital with your son? What happened, Sharon? Oh my God, what happened to your son? What are we praying for tonight? Uh-oh, that's not good. Oh no. Okay, so I know you as a coach and an artist. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Hi, Stephanie.
Oh. Um, I consider myself an artist first. Art for me, as I was growing up, was kind of my shelter to get through life. I was a little kid that went through school carrying a sketch pad with me every day. So
Mm,
that's kind of been a place for me. And uh, the coaching part somewhat came about when my father died many years ago, and helped raise my younger brother. And seeing some of the challenges he had, I got into working with young people who had issues with the law. And kind of brought the art side of what I do into that arena because I felt as though the young people had issues with communication,
mhm.
and art is an outlet that allows them to express themselves. And, as I got older, I was in business I was in a business that went very well for a while, went bad for a while, and I got to a point in my life where I was wondering, I kind of lost my why.
Mhm.
Uh, didn't really understand why life was the way it was, why people did the things they did, so on and so forth. And kind of a funny story. I have a brother that I was estranged from for close to 30 years. And
Wow.
it was so funny that it just clicked one day and we just, biggest thieves now. But anyway,
Oh.
he told me about The Secret, the book, The Secret.
Mhm, mhm,
That was kind of an awakening for me. I watched it and I went on an emotional roller coaster. But as soon as it was over with, I knew there was more to it than that.
mhm.
So
Yeah.
I immediately went in search of the people in the book, in the movie.
Oh, that's right, you told me that. Yes.
Yeah, I got to spend some time with Lisa Nichols and Joe Vitale and, folks like that, and have been on a journey of discovery ever since. I mean, it's book after book. Uh, and they inspired me coming from my artist perspective. They inspired me to create a series of photographs,
Mhm,
photographic art called Chains on the Brain. And it's some images with some people who have uh, a big lock and chain on their head. And people would see it and didn't understand because, anytime human beings see another human being with chains, they kind of feel as though somebody else is imposing their will on them. But
mhm,
that wasn't
mhm,
the concept. The concept was how the beliefs that we take on control us
mhm,
and
mhm,
limit
mhm.
us. So I had to write a book, Chains on the Brain, the book. And in that book, I explained the concept, and it did real well.
That is fantastic. Are you still working with the was it the veterans, the elder veterans?
Yes, what I did was I went to a seminar in Orlando.
Mhm,
It was an ultimate living experience. And I happened to meet a gentleman who was a higher up in the military who had access to some facilities where some veterans were housed.
mhm,
And kind of told him about some of the coaching work I have done. And he kind of made the connection for me and got in. Uh, I go to the facility, and the first time I did it, I did 6 weeks of painting with the veterans.
mhm.
And the whole concept is to allow them to utilize their imagination and their creativity because those are two of the best coping skills we got.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, when people are in facilities like that, they feel lost, they feel disconnected,
Mhm.
and some of them, sadly enough, are just sitting around waiting to die. I mean, hate
Mm,
hate to say it like that, but that was
um,
a reality. Go in, interact with them, allow them to paint, even the ones that said they couldn't paint, and they
mhm,
painted.
mhm.
And I go in and play some music from the time they were like teens and 20s, and they light up. And by
Mm,
the time they've done a few paintings, we're having conversations, which is what it's all about. We're
right.
having conversation. They're sharing their experiences with me. They're sharing the things with me, that are important to them. And I have seen miraculous moving forward
Mhm,
of people where they've connected, and they've come completely out of their shell. They look forward to me showing up. We have the greatest times, and every time, whether I have all the same people or I have some new people show up, there's always breakthroughs. It's
yeah,
every time I go is different,
yeah.
but it's always good. It's always good. So I know that I'm making a difference. And even the facility called me back
Mhm,
after COVID, said, "Hey, when you
mhm.
coming back?" So I said, "Hey,
Yeah.
I'm on my way." But it was
That's
really
great.
a great experience. The first time I did it, we did 6 weeks of
Mhm.
painting, and at the end of that, we had an exhibit.
Oh,
And
wow.
they
Wow.
created, I took all of their artwork and went out and had it custom framed. I
Mhm,
didn't
mhm.
get any off the shelf frames. I had custom frames done. and we had the exhibit. And the good thing about that was people would come in and say, well, he did that? If he can do that, I know I can do it. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I had one guy come up to me in tears, and he said, now I know what I want to paint. And he
Oh.
was wanting to do, it's unreal how many heart-tugging scenarios presented themselves. I had
Mhm.
one man that came in, and he was almost sitting there like he was almost catatonic. And his
Wow.
wife and his daughter would come and visit him on the weekend.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
I go up and say, what do you want to paint? And he's just kind of sitting there. And, his daughter told me that when they were kids, he used to sit them on his knee and draw Disney characters.
Oh.
So cool, Mickey Mouse. I said,
Mhm,
they
mhm.
painted it. He ended up doing 4. And he went from sitting, shoulders slumped over, to sitting up, smiling, talking, having conversations with his wife and daughter. And he ended up doing 4 pieces that were in the exhibit.
Wow.
Uh, even spoke to his wife, who said she used to paint.
Oh, wow.
So I got a paintbrush in her hand, and she just took to
Exactly.
it. Uh, it was really amazing. I had another gentleman who would just come in for a second and leave. He liked to come in and listen to the music, but he
Mhm,
felt so
mhm.
connected in the process that he brought these photo albums and binders that he had of photos he had taken from his life and stories he had written. He was really a good writer.
Mhm.
And in opening up, like I'm saying, they're able to have this outlet. I mean, he
Yeah.
wrote this one story that was so amazing, where he said that the Army took a lot from him. He said one of the things that the Army took from him was a good wife. And it
Hmm.
said, when I came to my senses and had my hands around her throat with her feet off the floor,
Oh,
I knew it
wow.
was time to leave. So just
Wow.
imagine the kind of sharing that takes place. You think that some
Yeah.
of these people have nothing to say and nothing to share, and then some of them have some amazing artistic talent. But like I say, every time, that has been one of the programs that I'm really, really proud of participating in and creating.
So what era of veterans, what like wars or era are we talking about with
Well,
most
they
of
they
the people?
vary from people in their late 50s, probably
Hmm.
all the way up to probably about 90.
90.
You
Wow.
know, but I know, like I say, art changes people.
Yeah.
Art changes people. Art connects people.
Yes.
Art gives people voice, because sometimes you're in scenarios where, and you can imagine being a soldier, and you're in a
Yes.
you're in a situation where you want to communicate something, but words get in the way.
Mhm. Mhm.
Sometimes words cannot express the deep
Yeah.
emotions and feelings that people have in their life, and express how different experiences have changed them.
Yeah. Yeah. My dad was a Vietnam vet from the Marine Corps,
Hmm.
and he finally, like, he did woodwork before he went into the Marine Corps, before I was
Right.
born. And I have a wooden bowl that he made before I was born when he was doing woodwork. And, PTSD and a few wars. He was in Korea and Vietnam twice. And he just stopped. He stopped doing his creativity and started again just before he died.
Right.
Just before. So I've got something he started carving. I mean, I've got one piece from either end of his experience in the military. So yeah, I mean, it's a way to just get beyond words out,
Right.
especially for somebody who's a veteran.
Yeah.
Definitely. That is
It's
so
it's
wonderful.
really it's really a continuation of the same kind of programs that I did with young people who were in
Yeah,
trouble with the law.
yeah, yeah.
A lot of their issue is that their world is so small. They haven't experienced anything. They don't
Mhm.
know anything. I showed a book of the Chains on the Brain images to a group of young men, and there was one image in there of a guy who had a pendant on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And one of the boys asked me, he said, Mr. D, why you got gang members in your book? I'm like,
Huh.
gang? What are you talking about? And what he was talking about, the pendant that the guy was wearing was a Star of David. And
They call that a gang?
where the kids are in the neighborhood, there is actually a gang that uses that as a symbol. And that was their only reference point for it, just to show
Wow.
how small their world is.
Wow. Wow. So is that book still available?
Yes, it is. It's on Amazon, as a matter of fact.
Okay, good. I just put it in the chat. I haven't seen the book. I've seen your photography work that you do for exquisite.
Mm-hmm.
Exquisite. We'll talk about the coaching in a minute. I love your artwork and your photography.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I was asking, it was funny because I saw David has a new photograph up on Facebook this morning. And when I looked at it, I'm like, he took that himself. I recognize the way he does his photography. You know?
Right, right, right.
Yeah, I remember back in ancient history, I used to run ropes courses and lived in Wimberley, Texas, in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And we would work with inner city kids, from Austin, kids that had very, God, here we go again. Hang on. We got a troll in here. Where in the world? Okay. Can somebody get that guy out of here? I can't find him. Thank you. We're going to get rid of that thing. Block the user. Oh, I like that. There we go. So these kids come out to the country, and the only thing, they were like high schoolers, the only thing they could even relate to was the fact that there were basketball hoops out
Mm.
there. That's they wanted basketball hoops. And I remember, I'm on the shamanic path by then, and I'm out there, and there's a really big hawk feather on the ground, and I'm just like, yeah, a gift, a sign, thank you. And I pick it up, and they all just freak out because I'm touching something like that. Because it's dirty. Ooh, how can you touch it? And I'm just like, okay, we live in really different worlds. I'm running around saying thank you, and they just could not relate. It was really funny. But as long as I would give them time to go play basketball in between all the ropes course stuff, they were good. It was the
Right,
bridge that we needed, for ropes
right,
course team building. It was neat. It was neat working with that population, actually, because it was like nature for me was my life, and they were out there like, what do we do out here? There's like trees. We don't know how to act out here.
like I say, their world is so small, so small.
Very
And
small.
the school system now
Mhm.
has taken away some of the things that make them individuals, that make them
Yeah,
special, the
yeah,
art and some
yeah,
music and things of that sort,
yeah,
where they can feel capable.
yeah, yeah. I remember a friend who ran treatment programs with kids, and this is when I had land in Wimberley, and had him out there doing shamanic stuff at his
Mhm.
suggestion. This is before the bowls and gongs, so we had drums, and we had this one tree on this land that had fallen
Mhm.
and continued growing branches up from the ground. I mean, it's just an amazing being, and lots of trees like that out there. And
Mhm.
these were also city kids, and the biggest deal for them was, can we actually climb on trees? And and the person who brought him out was like, yeah, of course, go for it. Everything's art and creative. I mean, it was just neat. It's a neat way to look at the world through other people's eyes when they don't know how to do this.
Right.
It's really fun. It's fun. So I'm gonna read the quote that came forth in the book that I can never get here, because it's talking about art. You are the artist. You are the raw material. You are the work of art. And you are the reality behind the work of art. I'm going to read that again. You are the artist. You are the raw material. You are the work of art. And you are the reality behind the work of art. When I saw that, I'm like, that's my friend David. You know?
Oh, Jodi, I told you that I was a kid walking around with a sketch pad, right?
Uh-huh.
So
Uh-huh.
the funny thing is, I didn't want anybody to see it. And
Ooh.
one of the teachers told me, she said, well, the reason you want anybody to see it is because you put a piece of you on that page
Mm.
and you don't want to be judged in that way. And
Mm-hmm.
he explained to me that, if somebody sees it and ooh and ahs about it, it's because I put the ooh and ah into it.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
just paper and pencil. That's all that is, paper and pencil. So
Yeah.
I put, the emotional content into the
Yeah.
work created. Now,
Yes.
to go deeper a little bit on your quote, and I'll connect it to some coaching. But
Mm-hmm.
the other thing that I created, I mean, that I understand is that when I create a piece of art, it's mine.
Mm-hmm.
But when you see it, it's yours
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because you define it through your life experiences,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
So you see it different than
Yeah.
what I did. So there's a saying that says that uh, it's not that important what I say. What's important is what you hear.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So it's the same thing with the art because we are exchanging energy.
Yes.
And when I got into doing abstract art,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted people to understand it because people see it and they say, "Oh, a kid could do that. Oh, that's nothing." I said, "Well, don't try and see what you see. Tell me what you feel."
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
had a studio in Dallas where I hung several abstract paintings in a row. And I used to have a party once a month, invite a bunch of different people. So I asked people, I gave them a little piece of paper. I said, I want you to go and stand in front of each piece for just a second.
Mm-hmm.
And don't tell me what you see, tell me what you feel.
Yeah.
So after I collected the pieces of paper, the energy content in the pieces was consistent. People were feeling
Ooh.
some of the same things coming off
Ooh.
the pieces as they went to them. So that was a real lesson for me.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I went to even when I first met you, and
Mm-hmm.
I came in and played the gongs, and
Mm-hmm.
we would play the two different gongs, and you say, "Okay, do you believe in intentions?" And I said, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, this time I want you to intend this, and then this time I want you to intend that." And it
Mm-hmm.
was so amazing to me how the sound of the gongs changed.
Changed. Yes. Because
So
you
that
put like
energy
you
exchange,
into them. Yeah.
yeah, that
Yeah.
energy exchange is very valid.
Yeah.
That's something we have to acknowledge.
It's
So that
well,
that the power of intention. Your
mhm.
intention changes things.
Mhm.
It makes a
Yeah, I
difference.
remember the first time you weren't in this group. A small group of one of my women's groups. We played the gongs. I don't think I had 10 back then, but close. We played the gongs. We were rotating like usual, and we were intending the dimensions first through I think 10 or 11. So we did 11 rounds to see if there would be any difference in the energy and the feel and the sound. And it literally blew all of us away because it was a grand experiment because they changed. It was like, wow, this works. The
Right,
power of intention.
right.
Because, like art, the gongs are reflecting the inner artist back at us. I mean, it works the same way.
This
Totally.
whole exchange is a co-creating process that just continues back and forth and up and down.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. My mother was a painter. I have a lot of. I actually have. a painting from 1965 that I
Mhm.
dragged around with me forever. It's huge. And one of my favorite pieces that she painted was actually a very small abstract, long and skinny. And she hated it because of what she just had a stroke, and this was her first painting after she could paint again, and it just represented bad stuff for her. For
Right.
me, as the Scorpio I am, I could see ritual death and rebirth in the
Mm.
entire painting. And I mean, we argued. I used to do her website, so she wanted it off, and I'm like, nope, not unless you let me buy it, then I'll take it off. And she's arguing with me about that. And finally, about 3 months later, it arrives at my house unannounced, and I'm like, huh. And it's my favorite abstract to show what comes out of shadow and chaos.
Right.
Beauty. It's beauty. So yeah, I love art like that. I don't have one of yours yet. I like collecting my friends' art. Remedy
Hey, we
that.
have to fix that.
Gonna have to fix that.
We're gonna
So
have to fix that.
talk about your coaching.
Okay.
It involves art a lot, correct? I mean, obviously
Well,
with the veterans.
for me, life is art.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, the thing, I see the world through images. I'm a very visual person, and I am in the process wanting to communicate through that media to people, not with
Mhm.
just words, but also with this just images. And with there was a kind of photo shoot that I've done before that was kind of work with the self-image of women,
Mhm.
their
Mhm.
body image and things like
Yeah.
that. It was called a GAW photo shoot. Can I say grown ass woman on anyway? uh, I
Yes,
would
you can.
I would bring the women in, and most of them they had to be over 40 to participate in this because I figured they had some life experience by then,
Mhm.
and would ask the question: if you weren't somebody's mother and somebody's daughter, somebody's wife, and whatever the job that you do, uh, who would you be?
Ooh.
And yeah, that was something that they had never thought about because they've spent so much time taking care of other people and being what somebody else needed them to be that they
Right.
hadn't explored, who they were as an individual.
Oh, so that's what you were photographing, was how they were expressing who they'd be.
We explored it in words first.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want I want to hear them say what they need to hear.
Hmm.
And then once we decided what that looked like, we went and searched for the image, and we always got it.
Oh, that is so cool.
Always got it.
That is cool.
As far as the coaching is concerned, in my journey of discovery and figuring some things out for myself, I came to the realization that, you know, we're all born with everything we need. We're
Mhm.
kind of talked out of it.
Yes.
Uh, we're
Yes.
all born artists. We're all born artists. But
Yeah.
when we are programmed with fear, guilt, and unworthiness, uh, then we change. We
Mhm.
adapt, we put on a mask
Yeah.
just so we can be accepted.
Yes.
Not be our true self, but be accepted. So in my coaching, one of the biggest things I'm trying to do is to get people to reconnect with the
Mhm.
source of who they are
Mhm. Mhm.
without judgment, without feelings of not being worthy or undeserved or uh, fear.
Mhm.
Uh, and those are some of the biggest things that we address. I try to help them remember what
Mhm.
they already know. I've never told anybody anything that they didn't already know.
Yes. Yeah.
And the thing about it is we're all in this thing together.
Mhm.
And usually after a session, after we go through the coaching program, um, I tell them, "Do you know why I told you these things?" And I tell them it's because it was exactly what I needed to hear.
Mhm.
So, I mean, some of my coaching has been with people who coach. You know, I've even had a session with somebody who's a mentor for me to help them through something they were going through. And
Yeah.
that was one of the most rewarding things that I
Yeah.
have ever done. There's a lot of people who have had their programming teach them
Mhm.
that they're unworthy, that, you know, they'll never be this, they'll never be that. And, you know, from a religious perspective, I run across people who, you know, have done something and they don't think they can be forgiven for it. So, you know, I say,
Mhm.
well, you know, from a religious perspective, if you're a believer and you ask God for forgiveness, how long does it take? What's the time frame on that? It's instantaneous, right?
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
happens. Okay.
Yeah.
So what the real problem was, um, they never forgave themselves.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the hard part. And you know, if you in fact are a believer, you know that the God part is already taken care of. So
Mhm.
you need to come to that. I've had a session with a young lady, and during the middle of it, had her go in the bathroom and look herself in the face in the mirror
Yeah.
and forgive herself and tell her she loved herself. And you can never tell what it takes to make somebody have a breakthrough.
Yeah.
And I'm years later, she tells me, you know, thank you. You opened these doors for me. And you know, my whole life is different. So those are the kind of things that are important to me.
Mhm.
I see a
Wonderful.
comment on the screen.
There, I found a question. Cindy, if you're still on, because she's on Facebook. I can't draw a straight line, but always wanted to try to draw something. Where would you suggest someone start? With a circle.
The thing
Nature doesn't
is,
do straight lines.
the thing is you're gonna have to start inside. You gotta start inside you, because the only thing that's keeping you from going ahead and pulling out whatever media you choose to use, whether it's pencil and paper or whatever, is the fact that you're judging it before you even do it.
Exactly.
You're judging it, you're comparing it to what you've seen somebody else do, or, you know, so on and so forth. So what you have to do is you start inside and say, I am a creator. I'm an artist. I was born an artist.
Yeah.
And you just put that pencil on that paper and let it go wild and see what you see what you feel. And then once you've done it, once you've created something, you've got a starting place to go anywhere, to go anywhere. But you got to get that whole judgment out of your head, that whole comparison to what other people do, and worrying about what other people think. Quit seeing yourself through other people's eyes.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Just do it.
And I know Cindy, and her canvas is her backyard
Mm-hmm.
as a master gardener. The absolute exquisite beauty that is created in that backyard is, I mean, it's mind-boggling. It's
Right.
beautiful. It's just a different kind of canvas.
Yeah, but I mean, if she loves that type of thing, then that's kind of one of the things she should start on, is something that she loves.
Yeah.
Draw flowers.
All flowers, yeah,
You can
exactly.
draw flowers and paint, and don't, like I say, don't judge yourself. Just go and choose your media and try it, see how it turns out. If you want to change it, change it. Uh, Students that I've done drawing with before don't get to use an eraser because there's no such thing as messing up.
Exactly. Just embellish it.
No such thing. If you're
So
creating a world, how can you mess up?
exactly. So somebody mentioned the painting behind you. I did the same thing before we went live. It's like, is that one of yours? So you want to tell us the story of that beautiful painting behind you?
Like I say, everything to me is art. So if I'm coaching somebody, I would probably encourage them to do art. And just like, you know, you're saying where to start, my thing is just start. This painting was done by a young lady that was one of my mentees, and she wanted to try it. She wanted to paint. And I went out, we got some canvas and some paint, turned her loose, and that's what she did.
gorgeous. It really is pretty.
That is what she did. And you see it on the wall now, and people are still appreciating it. You know, people are still connecting with it. It has emotional content that shows
Yeah,
through, and you know, you can create a whole story behind that.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but they're like I say, that's that whole energy exchange. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that emotional content.
Mm-hmm.
She created it. Now it belongs to whoever sees it.
Yes. Yeah.
And they say, okay, if they say it's beautiful, it's beautiful. If they say
Exactly.
they don't understand it, you know, so on and so forth.
Right.
Uh, could criticize it all day long, but that is not that exchange. That is that connection. That's part of that programming, that judgment, that
Yes.
trying to see yourself through other people's eyes and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
create something that you think will be pleasant to somebody versus something that
Mm-hmm.
is real to you.
Yeah. Yeah. I had an experience. I think the picture, I took a picture. Yeah, I do art through photographs. I actually pray with the camera in nature, is basically what I'm doing.
Hmm.
And I was looking, the trees are naked up here except for pines at the moment, looking into the trees, and the sun was above, and I saw all the bare branches on these little trees as filaments of light, like woven light, almost like the light in the painting behind you. And it was just like, wow, that's really cool. I can see that. And I put it up, put a couple of pictures up in Instagram. And one of my artistic friends in San Antonio wrote word for word exactly what I had seen when I looked at it. I'm like, oh my God, she could see it too, which is so cool. And there's a shared experience of
Right.
seeing beyond. I call it seeing beyond the matrix, to see what is really behind these still photos that we can take. It was just like, look at that. She saw the light.
I do something that's really cool that I started doing some time ago. Is if I'm out and walking or whatever,
Hmm.
I start taking photos of flowers, but not just the flowers that you see.
Hmm.
I want to find the smallest,
Hmm. Hmm.
smallest little bitty flower that people would just overlook and step on and so forth. If you really zoom in and really get close and look, they are some of the most amazing pieces of nature you ever seen.
Oh,
You know, so
I
I have
did
a
that when I moved up here right before spring started. So, and the wildflowers in Arkansas are utterly amazing,
mhm,
and they are all tiny. Exactly. It's just like getting down on the ground, with the phone, trying to get a picture of these itty bitty little beings. But this is what nourishes the pollinators. This is it. These little baby
right.
things. It was really cool because yeah,
Yeah.
they were all small. It's very they're amazing. They
So you
are
you
amazing.
see the connection with what I'm saying. If I'm coaching somebody, I'm
Hmm.
getting them to see something that they're overlooking or that they forgot. You
Exactly.
see what I'm saying? So if you
That's
can
it.
if you can bring people's attention to some things that already exist,
Hmm.
that the beauty in nature, the beauty within them,
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
their connection with the universe, their connection with each other,
That's,
we able to get our humanity back and
yes.
understand that we can connect to people and we don't have to be alone. I talk about working with caregivers.
Hmm.
Think about
Hmm.
the people who are caregivers and who do they go to? Where
Yeah.
does Superwoman and Superman go when they take off the cape?
Yeah.
Who takes
Yeah.
care of them?
Yes.
You see what I'm
Yes.
saying? And
I do.
to let them know that you care and let them know that they're still connected with the beauty side of life, with
Mhm,
the
mhm,
loving
mhm.
side of life is an amazing thing.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
it's funny, and I think I got a certain amount of my empathy when I was a small kid, uh, probably 4 or 5 years old. I had a grandmother that had a stroke,
Mm,
and I was the person that spent a lot of time with her.
mhm,
So just like a
mhm.
mother and child can communicate on a nonverbal level,
Mhm.
That was my connection. I
Mhm.
could
Mhm.
sense what she wanted, what she needed. I
Mhm.
spent a lot of time, in her rehabilitation, walking and just being around her and being with her. And I
Mhm.
think that's part of where some of my empathy comes from.
Mm. Yeah. How wonderful. 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 So I'm gonna I have a few questions.
Uh-oh. I plead the fifth. Oh.
You played that bad. Oh no. No, these are fun questions. They're just little light questions.
Okay.
So when you
Yes.
quietly meditate
Mm-hmm.
and go into your heart
Mm-hmm.
and access that wisdom, what does it show you about why you are here on the planet now?
Hmm. Um, I think it shows me that I am here to be an example of possibilities. Um,
Mhm.
that I am here to be. I always say I feel as though I'm a vessel through which blessings can flow,
Oh yeah.
because that is simple acts of kindness. Usually when people receive blessings, there's a human being involved somewhere.
Mhm.
So something
Mhm.
has inspired them to make that effort or go to that
Mhm.
place. So
Mhm.
uh, it I want to be an example of uh, the abundance of the universe. And when I say abundance, I'm not talking about material things or
Mhm.
anything like that,
Yeah.
but I mean the abundance of connection to others in spirit.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I know that about you. Yes. So,
Okay.
the next question. Ancient alchemy transmuted lead into gold. The human heart transmutes shadow into light with alchemical intention. How has that process shown up in your life?
Um, you know, um, I have been blessed in so many ways by so many people, and they've come from places that I never knew they would come from. And I'm gonna tell you a secret. I'm kind of a big crybaby when it comes to simple acts of kindness. I mean, I get touched to my soul when I see people being kind to each other and doing things, just out of the goodness of. And I've come to the realization that we're not in control of anything. There's so much in our life that is based on what I call grace.
Mhm.
It's not
Yeah.
something you have to earn. It's not something that you deserve. It's something that's just given to you. It's just given to you.
Yeah. Exactly. Thank you. So, when you play that bowl that you play, and thank you
Hmm.
for the recording, by the way, that was really nice to listen to. And you're just beyond words, beyond titles, beyond any of the labels. What frequency do you use to change the world?
Ooh. We start with the 528, of course.
Mhm.
Um, I I guess that would probably be it, because I use that kind of as a base. And like in my studies and preparing myself, like I said, Joe Vitale was one of the people that I studied in the beginning.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
if you're familiar with Dr. Hu Lin, who
He
had
just
the
died.
yeah, he did just
Just
here recently.
died. Yeah, he just died.
There was something that he said uh, that resonates with me, and it's in my meditation is the place where I try to go first, is to zero, you
Mhm.
know, where nothing exists,
Mhm.
um, where you're able to let go of what you need to do, what you need to think about, You
Hmm.
know, you let go of being in a place of intention, and you just be in a place of receiving. And I try to get to that zero place
Hmm.
because, as he said, if you start in zero, anything is possible.
Yeah. Yes. Well, it's
But
the unlimited possibility
right,
place as well. As well. Yeah. The doctor that just died. Zero Wise. Is Zero Wise the
zero
company that
limits. Oh, yeah.
he's the one that brought the Ho'oponopono out into the world for us
Right.
Westerners to use. And it was like the day after Thich Nhat Hanh died, and then I find out he's dead, and I'm like, because I had an email from the company, and I'm just like, ah, all the all the cool ones are on the other side. I want to go visit that party.
So you got to understand that they put all those teachings and all this information out there so that somebody could take the torch and run with it. I mean, and it's
Exactly.
not about rehashing, or it's
Mhm.
about making it your own
Yes.
and enhancing it and expounding on it and moving forward with it. You
Yes.
know, it's so amazing that as I went on my journey, I the more I learn, the less I know. The less I understand that I know, because there's so much more to learn.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, Eliza, that Morna, that was the original woman that brought it out. If I remember correctly, I actually did some research on it.
Okay, yeah, I remember seeing something
Yeah,
about it. She was
yeah,
Hawaiian, right?
hmm yeah. This
Yeah.
this is Hawaiian. Yes,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. I took that prayer and brought it into inner child work
Hmm.
when I first learned about it. It's made a huge difference in many people's lives. Eliza is in Hawaii. So, you said something about an earthquake today. What did I miss? I didn't look at any news. We had an earthquake in Hawaii. Sheesh, I'll tell you. I'll tell you. So let's see. Do I have another question? Let's see what I have here. I'm changing the wording on all my questions to fit the people.
Uh-oh.
Well, it's fun. It's creative. So, how does your passion in life reflect your own alchemical wisdom?
Um, my passion is to create,
Hmm.
and I fully feel like that's our purpose for being here. We're all creators. We're not
Co-creators.
here to imitate. We're not here to criticize somebody else's work or life. We're here to create a life that we can be proud of and that we enjoy. And we're here to not only create but co-create, because, like we were
Hmm.
talking about, the exchange of energy
Hmm.
uh, it from a creation. Uh, so, for me, my passion is create, and when I create and share and am able to create a breakthrough and remind somebody that they're also a creator,
Hmm.
uh, and remind them the things that they already know, that they let go, that they had programmed out of them. There's so many people who are sitting around with so much good in them, but they're waiting for somebody to give them permission,
Oh, no, no. Just go create.
because they told you no, 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 you can't, and usually the people who create the least criticize the most.
Yes. The shadow artist, as Julia Cameron calls it.
Yeah,
Exactly. Well, and I
right.
grew up in a family where my mother, in her insecurities, deemed herself the only one allowed to be the artist,
Mm,
which was interesting because the first time I did and taught Artist's Way, which was when the book came out a billion years ago, I looked at it going, I don't have any art.
mm,
I don't, I wasn't allowed to. I don't have any. And my intention, which back in those days I didn't know the word intention, so that was called a goal. It was called, my intention was to create my purpose in life.
hmm
not a piece of art, but my purpose. And it was really interesting because that came forth, that actually did come forth. Years later, I took many 10 years off from teaching that. I walked into the first class I taught in San Antonio, actually, the Viva bookstore when it was open. And at that time, I think I had 8 or 10 CDs that I had already produced on this Tibetan bowl adventure that I had been on for a few years. And I walked in with them in my hand going, this is what happened because I learned that I could create whatever was supposed to come through. And here I'd created music as an untrained musician. Okay, man, we have got some. Thank you, Kathy. We got some trolls tonight. Okay, I must have made it to the big time. I've had trolls tonight.
Tuesday
Oh,
night,
no.
Tuesday, Trolling Tuesday.
The trolling Tuesday. I love it. Trolling Tuesday. That'd be a fun title for something. So, thank you, Virginia. You were talking about doing your own podcast, Thingy Dingy. Talk about that if you're willing to.
Yeah, I often find myself. I have a group of eclectic friends who have eclectic ideologies that we get into some very, very interesting conversations that I think would be interesting. Some people would be entertaining. So I'm really contemplating a podcast.
Gonna rename it a Codplast.
A podcast with those people.
What'd you call that? A
You
Codplast. Okay, I'm putting that in
know,
writing. I like that.
okay,
Codplast.
there you go. I'm the first. I coined it. That's mine.
This is yours.
Oh,
Dave's new show.
I just love being perfect in my imperfection.
Hey,
Uh,
that's a medicine.
but no, I've done a recording once before
Mhm.
with some friends of mine. We may take a topic of the day or an idea, something we read in a book, and kind of have a panel discussion about it. And it was always fun. It was always fun. The brother that I was telling you about that I was estranged from for almost 30 years, and that had something to do with religious beliefs. But anyway, like I say, but it when it changed overnight.
Mhm.
And we are just as tight. We talk almost every day now, and things are just wonderful. And so funny, after all that, he's the one that told me about the book that got me going on the road.
Yeah, they got you started.
Well,
The
so like I said,
irony of it
you
all.
never can tell
Oh, that's
where
funny.
your inspiration comes from. It's about you being open.
Yes.
It's about you
Yeah.
being open to possibilities,
Yeah.
about you being open to love, about you being able to accept other people. Have conversations where you don't have to agree, but you don't have to kill each other after it's over with.
Exactly.
Um, and get on each other's nerves and get off each other's nerves and get on the
Mhm.
same page and get on different pages. And we have had some landmark debates about nothing. And ended up disagreeing, but both of us standing our ground at
Mhm.
the end. That was fun.
Mhm. Yeah,
uh, I think that that's what makes relationships really, really strong and really good. And I think that that's the way it's supposed to be.
it is. I agree. I agree.
Everybody has a right to their opinion. It's so funny because, you know, one thing that I know, you read a book, right?
Mhm.
And you go back a little bit later and you read the same book again and you say, that wasn't in there the first time I read it.
Exactly.
You know, but what we have to understand is that the book is the same, but you're not.
Mhm.
You're a different person than the person that read the book the first time.
Exactly.
And we've got to be willing to accept change. We got to be willing
Yes.
to develop. We got to be willing to grow and accept that. And you know, I think the biggest things that keeps us from doing that is us trying to see ourselves through other people's eyes or other people's judgment.
Exactly. Outer
You know,
referencing. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
you are who you are.
Yeah.
You are who you are.
Yeah.
You accept your growth, and sometimes you have to really take some time when you have growth spurts to really adjust and understand how the landscape has changed. Not just you, but the landscape has changed.
Yes. Do you remember Adrian, David?
Hey, Adrian.
Red lentil healing. There she is.
Yes, she left town on me as soon as I got my bowl. She ran out.
Adrian is the one that got me on YouTube.
Hmm.
She texted me one day, "Do you want to play bowls with Johnny and I?" And I remember hyperventilating and screeching, and before I ever answered her, I was like, it was
Right,
like,
right.
oh God, I guess I have to.
Yeah,
So,
I remember what Adrian said she would do for me to be able to get my bowl, but I'm not going to tell everybody here. She knows what I'm talking
oh, I don't know that story.
about. Oh, shucks.
Oh, Adrian,
Anyway,
I'll be texting you later to find out what that was.
yeah,
Oh my
yep, yeah.
goodness. My goodness, my goodness. You make it sound like a drug deal.
Well, I tell you, I'm not telling. You're going to tell off on yourself. It did
Yeah,
involve
these
some
phones
questionable
can be
activity.
like an addiction, I'll tell you. Something I've
Oh,
noticed.
shucks.
There's always room for one more.
That's right. That's right.
So, what would you like to, before I play about 30 seconds of music, what would you like to leave as a wisdom pearl for everybody who's listening?
Hmm. I go back to the same thing. Create, create, create. I don't care whether you write, whether you cook, whether you draw, whether you plant gardens. Uh, Create and share. Create and share. Because once you create it, it exists.
Yeah.
And once it exists, I mean, it's out there for. Don't worry about the people that criticize it. Connect with your tribe.
Hmm.
People who
Hmm.
appreciate what you do, who appreciate you. You know, and when you create, that wasn't the purpose that you created. You created as the expression of you. Those people who support you in your creating will gravitate to you, and they deserve that. Don't be selfish. Don't be selfish and keep your gifts to yourself. Share them.
Exactly. Well, creation is, I mean, being shamanic the way I am, I talk to Mother Earth and her relations more than humans, actually. And she's all about co creation. They all are. We're always weaving the web of life together.
Right.
And if humans don't create, then we are not part of the web of life. We're the outsiders.
We're not being who we are, and
Yeah,
we're not happy. When you don't create, you're not happy.
exactly. God, I agree with that. I agree. I agree. So now that all the lights have turned themselves off in the other side of the room, I'm just watching them go out one at a time, including the ring light. I'm going to go over into the shadow and play a few minutes of bowls to close. The shadow knows you don't have to see me, you just have to hear this. Dude, see, it's all dark now. I tell you, this room is a trip. Okay, we'll close with just a few little bowls. Just a few, just a few. Let's see if I can get something on. There we go. So, put your hand on your heart center or heart chakra and breathe. breathe the gratitude of having David as our sacred guest tonight. And breathe that gratitude up into your head. And as you come into harmony, broadcast that back out in the world as a creation for the highest good. Then bring yourself back into your sacred space. As we're all connected through this sacred sound. David, thank you. I miss you. Yeah, I'm like Adrian. I miss you.
Miss you too. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get you up here sooner or later.
It is good to be around good people.
Yeah. So thank you, all of you who came in and played with us. And if you're on the YouTube page, please like it and follow. And I just appreciate you coming in on Tuesday. This was actually, I might have to change my day. Well, that's one of the things I've learned about creation is change. If there's a change in order, do it. So this was an experiment, and not when I couldn't be here on Sunday. It's like, well, let's see what a Tuesday night looks like. It's Taco Tuesday. We need tacos for this. So, thank you, Stephanie. David, thank you. Love you much. All of you all out there, and all of my awesome troll slayers. Holy mackerel. We have a few of them tonight. Thank you. And we all need to follow up with Sharon because she hasn't been on, so we need to find out what happened to her son. And we'll pray for him. So, until next Sunday, thank you. Love you all.